IPMNation.com.
Oh my God, I'm president. I'm so rich and I'm an ass. And there's a wig on my head. I just FaceTime Putin. I told him I'm his biggest fan. Got so much scandal on the front page. Holy shit, let's build a wall. Ooh, I can tweet so well. Wonder if I can say the N-word. When can I really say the N-word?
North Korea. North Korea. In North Korea. North Korea. In North Korea. North Korea. North Korea.
North Korea. I woke up in Donald Trump's body. So orange, overweight, and slightly balding. Now I got no choice but to ruin this country. I can't believe that it's Freaky Friday. It's Freaky Friday in Donald Trump's body. I eat pizza the wrong way and I drink water like a widow.
You and I just have a fundamental disagreement.
Sequence starts. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Where is Matt? Where is Matt Connarton? I want Matt Connarton back.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. It's Matt Connarton Unleashed in the afternoon. We are live on WMNH 95.3 FM, emanating from downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 in Manchester, streaming worldwide at WMNHradio.org. And, of course, on Facebook via Facebook Live on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. And there's a gentleman here in an orange jacket at the news desk wearing a hat that says, what does that say? OC? QC? Something C? What is that? What's going on over there?
Well, you know, I'm getting your merchandise ready for the big second anniversary celebration of your show coming up.
Oh.
And I was going to show you, you know, for the QCC, I ordered these hats. They're very cheap, but they forgot one C.
Is that why the balloons? Did you bring those balloons?
What color are they?
Those are blue.
Oh,
You're exactly right.
They arrived a little early.
Yes, well.
Are you excited about the format change, too?
Should I tell him?
Tell what?
Oh, nothing. Oh, yes, very excited.
I was thinking if we do use the firm, we'll go for MCUIA, and if they leave out the IA,
sure.
Not right.
Yeah, I leave out the IA all the time, actually. So
yeah.
Let's see. We have Joe Crawford from the Joe Show is in the Facebook live chat. Hello, Joe. I see Jenny in there as well. And let's see. Of course, here in the studio we have my official co-host. Of course, the ghost of John McCain is always here.
I'm John McCain.
And the virtual Dave Ridley as well, who's really just kind of taken over. So
yeah.
So they're always here.
Is this part of that West Side Wi-Fi network they have, the secret one? Is it broadcasting secretly through here?
Oh, the
leak or
what did
something?
they call? Yeah, he had a name for that. A mesh network something.
Mesh.
Smersh. No, I don't think it was Smersh.
That means death to spies in Russian.
You have some fans, by the way, who've been calling. When you're not here, they call. This might be one of them now. Let's take this call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
It's Crawford from the Joe Show. Happy second anniversary.
Joe Crawford, how are you, sir? All the way from Canada, or Canada, as some like to say.
Canada. Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing great. I think this is the first time you've ever called into my show live.
I think so, yeah.
You're my favorite Canadian. Well, next to Michael J. Fox, of course, and probably some random hockey player.
Well, thank you. That says a lot.
What about Fergie Jenkins? You're not a fan of Fergie Jenkins?
I don't know who Fergie Jenkins is. Who's Fergie Jenkins?
And you appeared on the baseball show all those years.
Oh, that's true. Joe, do you know who Fergie Jenkins is?
No, I don't know who Fergie
And
Jenkins
you call
is.
yourself
Not
a
that
Canadian?
Yeah. Well, he does call himself a
He's
Canadian.
the first Canuck to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I forget, Joe. Do you have dual citizenship, or are you strictly Canadian?
Strictly Canadian. I do have family who are American.
Yes.
But I am strictly Canadian only.
Yes.
Canuckistan.
Oh, Canuckistan. Wow. I like to think of it as northern Michigan, personally. I hope that's not offensive to you, Joe.
No, USA Juniors.
No,
what you used to
northern
call it.
Michigan, northern Montana, northern New York, it all equals out the same because the weather all tends to be the same anyways.
Oh, Jenny in the Facebook live chat says, Jeezaloo. Now, you know what's funny about that? Because you say that all the time, Joe. John Hopwood over here says Jeezoo quite a bit. So he has his own version of Jeezaloo just without the Isn't that
he's
for
cutting
real?
right to the cake. He's doing the shortcut version.
Yeah, he's going right for the Lou. He goes right from Jeez to Lou, or Jeezoo.
Well, I like to keep it classic.
No, that's right. There's no Lou.
Mozartian.
It's Jeezoo.
Well, I call it Jezu.
You call it Jezu.
Well, it'd be Jezu, really, but I
It's
like
spelled
to call
like
it Jezu.
Jezu. Yeah, but you're not Canadian, so why do you say things
Well,
like
I'm
that?
part French Canadian.
Oh, there you go. All right. See, it all comes around. It all comes together.
None of the Franco-American crap for me.
Uh-huh.
Like a can of cheap spaghetti.
Right. So how have you been, Joe? What's new with you? You and I legitimately haven't talked in a really long time.
Yeah, no, I've been doing very well and been very busy. Of course, as you mentioned before, I have the Joe Show, so that's going strong.
Yes.
And season 12 is wrapping up in the end of June, and we'll do season 13 in the fall time there. I have another business that I run on my own, a lot of entertaining that I'm doing across Canada and in Ontario, the province that I'm from. And, yeah, just enjoying life and loving every minute of it.
Very nice. Loving every minute of it, of course, the name of one of the hit singles from the band Loverboy, who are also Canadian. I don't know if you did that intentionally, Joe, but that's what came to my mind when you said that. Feel free to take credit for doing that intentionally, even if you didn't. That's what I would do.
I did that fully intentionally, just on purpose.
Of course you did. Yes. Loving every minute of it was, I believe, later in their career, but still a legitimate hit song. Is Loverboy still big?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Are they still big in Canada?
Oh, yeah, especially.
Are they really?
I know a lot of people in southern Ontario here love Loverboy and that yeah, they're very big.
I can't tell if you're kidding. I feel like you're kidding, but I'm not sure. No, you're serious?
I wish I was kidding, but I'm not kidding.
Well, all right. By the way, Joe, are you working for the weekend? See what I did there? See, because you did.
I'm actually working on the weekend, but not for the weekend.
Well, that's kind of the same thing. See, I mean, there you go. Because I had to take your loving every minute of it and I just elevated the whole concept to the next level with my comment. If you notice, I am a comic genius. Just ask me.
You are fantastic.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Now, what will you be doing over the summer while you're on hiatus from your show? Because you take a summer break, correct?
Yeah, I do take a summer break. Just a lot of performing and enjoying the surroundings and traveling a bit here and there. The big trip I'm actually doing in September. I'm going to Israel for 2 weeks.
Ooh,
so that's going to be a lot of fun. That's a vacation, not an actual work thing. That's a vacation, but yeah.
Jenny's going to be jealous. She wants to go to Israel.
Who wants to go?
Oh, Jenny. Jenny.
Oh.
She wants to go to Israel. So she'll be very jealous.
I'll take a lot of pictures for her to see.
Very nice. Outstanding. Oh, I see. Chuck Colansis is in the Facebook live chat, as well as Stefan Philbrook and Jenny. Jenny's making fun of Hopwood there. So yeah. So well, Joe. So what's how How are things going up there in Canada for, we talk about politics on the show. How are things going for Justin Trudeau? I saw that he was in some trouble recently.
And the election can't come fast enough to get rid of the guy. We have our election for the nation in October. And, there's lots of controversy going on, and 2 of his cabinet members have been ousted.
Yeah, they threw them out of the Liberal caucus.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Conrad Black defended that, in the National Post. So who can argue with Conrad Black?
No.
The big thing is that she recorded, but I mean, it's legal under our chartered rights here in Canada in the criminal code that she recorded her conversations. And in our charter, it says that as long as one person of the conversation knows that there's a recording being done, which obviously that would be the person recording it, that it's fully legal.
Well,
so the other person doesn't need to know that it's being recorded.
Okay.
Now, however, if you're doing a phone call, then that person needs to know. But if you're face-to-face with that person, the other people do not need to know. Only one person needs to know, and that one person can be the person recording.
Okay.
And she was the Minister of Justice. Like the equivalent of our Attorney General.
So for me, I haven't followed this as closely, and for our listeners, did she record an interaction with Justin Trudeau that was incriminating? Is that what happened here? Or
she was actually recording not with Justin Trudeau, but assistants of Justin Trudeau in regards of the situation. I don't know exactly what it fully was either, but yeah, she was not actually recording Justin Trudeau. It was just other people of assisting Justin Trudeau.
Okay. All right.
And then Ontario, our premier, is just like a mini Trump up here.
Oh,
Everyone's
come on.
comparing him to a mini Trump.
Have some sympathy. He lost his brother.
Did he?
His brother was he was the mayor of Toronto. He was a notorious.
Oh, Rob Ford?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob Ford's brother is our premier.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
Well, come on. You had Mike Harris. He's, I guess he wasn't as bad. He's I don't know if he's worse than Harris.
Wow.
And remember Ralph Klein in Alberta?
Yeah, well, they're changing our Ontario logo because Doug Ford says it looks like 3 men in a hot tub.
Really?
That could be Manchester's old.
Oh, my goodness. Doug Ford is his name?
Rub-a-dub-dub.
Absolutely.
They're twin brothers.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing a television show that they had done together when Rob Ford was still alive. And I guess it only lasted 1 episode, but it was like just the 2 of them talking about politics and almost like an infomercial for themselves and their political careers. I have no idea what it was called, but I just remember seeing it on YouTube. And I guess it was like
Ford Nation.
Ford Nation. Yes. But sadly, it only lasted 1 episode because Rob Ford was, Toronto is the 4th largest city in North America. Rob Ford really was a prominent figure there for a while just because of his buffoonery.
Oh, my God. But look, you're talking about this. When you were a tyke, you were at Studio 54 with Justin's mom, Margaret Trudeau, when she was with Mick Jagger and the kid, the guy that had the plane load of cocaine.
Well, that's all true, but I can't really talk about that. I don't want to have to. I was paid a large sum of hush money, as we say here in the U.S., to not discuss any of that. I don't want to have to give that back because, frankly, it's already spent.
Because, you're just a tyke. You used to operate the crotch cam, which we won't go any further.
Well, I did. And those are wonderful memories, but...
got you quite an education.
Yes, indeed. Yes. To me, the most disappointing thing about the death of Rob Ford is that Chris Farley had already died a long time ago, and he would have been ideal to play Rob Ford in a movie about him, like
was Chris Farley
biopic.
Canadian?
No, but he was he would have been perfect to play Rob Ford. Don't you think so, Joe?
Oh, absolutely. Or like an SNL skit back in the day or whatever else.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even Rob Ford got invited to Jimmy Kimmel, and he was getting international recognition, too, with the things that Rob was doing.
Absolutely. I assume Doug, you said Doug is like a mini Trump, but I assume he kind of has it together a little bit more than his brother did, at least, right? I mean, I would assume.
Maybe. Maybe not.
They were in cahoots together.
Yeah, but I just mean in terms of just being a total buffoon. Although you did say he's a mini Trump, so maybe he is as much of a blithering buffoon as his brother was. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? They're really making it's what's going to be really huge in Ontario, and I'm kind of sitting on the fence with it as well. Is the fact that so really Ontario, Doug is trying to make a lot of the alcohol habits of what United States has.
Oh, that's
where
right.
It can be sold in corner stores now. Well, not yet. The budget just came out yesterday. Actually.
You're going to be able to.
But
bars at 9 a.m. are going to be able to serve liquor.
Yeah, 9 a.m. They can promote party hour. We're going to be able to do tailgating. We're going to be able to basically drink. They'll be able to offer drinks in the casino for free, as long as you're gambling, like they do in the States as well.
In the old days.
Lot of changes, which I mean will be very friendly for our American neighbors and friends to come on up and enjoy that same atmosphere, I guess you can say. But it does seem a lot like, though, it is a lot of drinking and alcohol throwing down our throats all at once. I believe if he actually did it right, because I'm not really I don't drink and drive. I'm not much of a drinker myself, but if he did it gradually at different things, I think it would be perfect. But it just seems like everything's all drinking, like tailgating, happy hour, 9 a.m. this, and it's deflecting from a few other things from that they're doing in cutbacks of healthcare and education and that kind of nature.
Yeah,
but here's free booze, and then we even did for one time it was a buck of beer and have a buck of beer, and that was going on too. Where actually some breweries actually jumped on the bandwagon for a little promotion for 2 or 3 months, where you could buy a bottle of beer for $1. But yeah, it just seems like a lot of drinking. So it's a lot for his buddies, I guess you can say, of that nature. But other than that, I think the casino, because I like that atmosphere when I go to the States and I go gamble at the casino.
Yeah,
and you have the option of and I tip the waitress, whatever else. Or I like going when I go to the Buffalo Bills. I'm not a Buffalo Bills fan, but I go to the Buffalo Bills game, and you have that tailgating experience, all again within reason. But it just all came at once. I think it's just a little too much for us laid-back Canadians.
Since you've got pot.
Yeah, Jenny in the Facebook live chat, in fact, was just asking, what is it like in a nation with legalized cannabis? Are you living in reefer madness now, or did the sky not fall?
The sky doesn't fall, believe it or not.
Wow.
And it's nothing has really, except there's a lot of, I love dumb criminals stories, and I love those kind of stories that you hear. And you can see, I live on border town area with being in Niagara Falls, Canada, and Niagara Falls, New York, just literally right over the river.
Yeah.
And they have all the signs, literally, do not bring cannabis over the border.
Right.
And the amount of stories we're hearing that people are getting caught at the border with marijuana, and it seems to be 50-50 legit Americans and Canadians. Americans are trying to bring it back to wherever they are vacationing from. The Canadians are just carrying it on because it's legal.
Wow.
And it's come on, people.
Yeah. Well, that is, that does seem awfully risky, and it's not like you can't smell it.
No, right? And I mean, myself, I'm not a user of marijuana. I'm not against people who use marijuana. I actually believe that there are some health benefits to marijuana usage with pain and everything else of that nature, because I'm more not into pill giving, but more naturopathic.
Exactly.
And other ways of infusing that into your system. But yeah, I just everyone thought oh my gosh, there's going to be stoners all over the place, and everyone's going to be it's another day. Nothing has changed.
Right.
It's okay.
Hey, there's a burning question down here is. There's been a lot of talk about climate change, and we all know that Parliament in Ottawa is a huge igloo. Are they dealing with the problem? I mean, it's been going on and off for 10 years now.
I'm sure Doug Ford does not believe in climate change, certainly.
But the igloo.
Doug Ford doesn't believe in climate change at all.
But the igloo's
Ottawa
melting.
Put in a carbon tax that just came out, and no fooling, April 1st. That raised up carbon tax prices and gasoline prices up, and Doug Ford is trying to slash the carbon tax and impose it. And I believe that there is actually a lawsuit that is being done up, or if not already in the process, not yet in the courts, but just in the initial beginning stages of it, of this carbon tax that's happening and inflicted upon Canadians.
Is is it a big spike in gas prices, or do you even notice it? Because gas prices tend to fluctuate anyway.
Exactly. Well, you know what? I've seen we're paying right now $1.16 a liter. So translate that into 4 liters in a gallon. It's about $4 or $5 a gallon we're paying.
Ooh.
But yeah,
ouch.
But when the carbon tax came in, it shot up 10 cents a liter.
Oh.
So now we're looking at anywhere between $1.24 to $1.26. But unfortunately, our Canadians out west in British Columbia, they're paying about $1.72 a liter right now.
Right.
It's almost like $7.50 a gallon for gas.
Yeah.
And they're part of that carbon tax as well, and everything that Ottawa implemented.
Okay. Yeah, Jenny in the Facebook live chat says New Hampshire could learn a few things. Guess you can keep enjoying the tourist boost on us, because of, the cannabis. And it's funny, we often lament here in New Hampshire where we are, we're surrounded by states and a country because of you guys that have all gone full legal on cannabis, and we just still can't get there. We're making progress. They finally decriminalized it here in New Hampshire, but it is still technically not legal.
No. I think if done right, because I know too, like the province of Ontario tried to do their Ontario cannabis store. And there was actually first of all, they got hacked, and there was a huge issue there that people's information got compromised and all that.
Yeah.
Then there was the fact that they were selling bad marijuana, and it was going moldy, and the delivery system was not working properly.
Ooh.
Like if it was running smoothly and got its act together, like Colorado's doing it fantastic and making like money off of it. Like I believe that it can thrive with the economy, that it could really help out, but it only has to be done right. But these few states that are down there, because I think now it's almost like 50-50 with you guys down there, that basically the states that have marijuana legal and not legal. But if we look at
I wish it was that many.
Pardon?
I said I wish it was that many. It's not 50-50 yet. We'll get there. But you'll
get there.
Yeah.
Okay. But the thing is, like, if we can look, or other people or other states or other nations can look at the platform that like Colorado has and it's doing well, or other states that are doing it well, it could work really well and go with that. But it just seems to be like no one can understand the concept yet of how to actually make it work up here in Canada to its benefit yet.
Yeah. Well, in Colorado, I know they tax it, and I don't know if this ended up happening, but at one point they were looking at potentially giving citizens of that state tax rebates, because apparently it's in their state constitution that if they have a surplus, and I just know broad strokes about this. I'm no expert, but from what I understand, they have it's in their constitution. If they have a surplus, they have to actually rebate the taxpayers. So they're just swimming in money. But the results appear to be overall. I mean, Colorado is kind of the litmus test in the United States, even though other states have gone full legal. But everyone kind of looks to Colorado, both positive and negative, because you also have people online who oppose legalization, who talk about Colorado as though it's descended into some apocalyptic hellscape since legalizing cannabis. And I have one friend who talks about that, who says, it's gotten so bad, and he had taken a trip out there, and I guess he's a state legislator. I won't say who it is, but he's a state legislator here in New Hampshire, and
Did he go on a motorcycle?
Yes,
okay.
And he
could benefit from it.
Yeah,
He
talked to a state legislator in Colorado who told him of a story of a some kid who ended up in a coma or something because
and it would never have happened otherwise.
Because they got a hold of some edibles and very often
all of us have been there.
and very often when someone really wants to convince you of something, all they need is just one story of anecdotal evidence, and they think that completely proves their case. I call it "I know a guy" syndrome, because everybody says, "Oh, I know a guy who got into trouble with this, and that's why you shouldn't do it, and that's why it should be illegal forever." And it's like, yeah, you know a guy, and maybe you really do know a guy, but that's that doesn't change the broader reality and circumstances of it. So. But my understanding is Colorado's done spectacularly well overall.
$6 billion last year, from $1 billion in 2016.
In
18,000 jobs
in revenue from
Well, sales, yeah,
and 18,000 jobs created because of it.
Right,
that's fantastic. I mean, how could anyone argue with that? Yeah, you might have a few more.
Exactly.
You might have a few more stoned people walking around. Big deal. Plus, I've never believed that it being illegal actually prevents anyone from doing it who wants to do it, because if it did, then why are our prisons full of nonviolent drug offenders? Which reminds me, so in Canada, Joe, when they went full legal, what about people who are already, or maybe there's not much of it, maybe there wasn't much of it up there, but what about people who are already in jail for possession and use of cannabis? Are they just...
Yeah, they would have to... there actually was... It was funny because before or as the legalization date was approaching, it was all this talk of what was going to happen with these prisoners who were in jail because of being possessing marijuana. But after it came, the legalization and that, I've never heard specifically or any other stories about what happened to these individuals, if they got their case re-looked at, or are they still serving their term? Because even I think about a month up to the legalization date, there was actually still a lot of police raids raiding the cannabis depots, or whatever you want to call them, of these stores that were still acting illegally at the time. And they busted like so many, especially like in Hamilton and Toronto and the big cities out in Vancouver and that. And they were operating for 15, 16, 17. It wasn't like they were just around for like a couple of years. They were like veterans in this. And all of a sudden, before cannabis became legal, there was like these raids that were going insane.
Yeah. Yeah, that's frustrating, and it's been it's a pet issue of mine because I oppose the drug war in its entirety, and it frustrates me that all this talk about legalization of cannabis is great, and I want it to continue, and I want something done federally, and all of that, but I also want people who have been locked up. As long as that's all they're locked up for, nonviolent drug offenders, I want them let out. I had this fantasy. Yeah. And I knew that it was obviously. I had a fantasy, and I knew that there was no chance of it happening. That on his last day in office, President Obama would sign an executive order granting an amnesty to all the nonviolent drug offenders in our prisons on his way out the door. Of course, it would be challenged and struck down in court anyway if he did that. But I thought that would be a great thing, if even only.
And it would have been overturned by President Trump, because anything that Obama did, Trump just overturned it.
Pretty much, yeah. He's the anti-Obama. That's
I know.
Part of his brand.
That's why I'm wearing the orange jacket today. He's rolled back the agreement between Major League Baseball and Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, Oh, boy. Yeah. Cuba. Canada's never has had relations with Cuba for a long, long time.
Is that true?
Oh, yeah. Isn't Norilsk, is that... Well, everybody's connected now.
It's a global world, which is redundant, I know, but...
Well, some Canadians bought what are considered U.S. assets by U.S. because they were seized by Cuba.
Oh,
so
interesting.
if we ever do normalize relations, which is ridiculous that we don't, but, it keeps everybody in Florida happy.
That's
Republicans.
True. That's true.
There's going to be a lot that has to be worked out about ownership of assets down there.
Speaking of the globe, do they have flat earthers in Canada? We have a lot of them here.
I haven't come across any, or haven't heard of any about any flat earthers here in Canada. So
Yeah.
No, I don't. I'm going to say no, not that much.
Yeah.
So
Probably because you're closer to the North Pole, so it's you're naturally going to be more skeptical.
yeah, I think so too.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
We're still. I think we're still trying to talk about we're close to the North Pole. We still keep on fighting to say that the North Pole, where Santa lives, is still part of Canada.
Free Nunavut.
Huh?
Free Nunavut.
Free Nunavut.
That's right.
I don't get it.
You're not supposed to.
Okay.
It's Canadian code, apparently.
Oh, wow. Well, you don't apparently you don't get it either? Can't be Canadian code then.
He's from Ontario in a border town. USA Junior.
Right. Yes. How often do you get to the United States, Joe? Cuz you travel down here quite a bit, don't you?
Oh my gosh, do I ever? It's hilarious because what's hilarious is I do go over a bit. That's not the hilarious part. However, maybe I do maybe probably frequent it about maybe I would say at least 7-8 times a month. But I was coming from out east at the end of February, and I traveled from New Brunswick, but then I decided to go and drive to the States all the way back home. And they pulled me over.
Who's they?
The New Brunswick, Maine border.
Right, New
Because
Brunswick.
They didn't like the fact that I crossed over quite a bit. And they're like, why do you come here a lot? And I'm like, because I live on a border town, and this wasn't sufficient enough for them. So they I was detained for an hour. I mean, I had nothing to hide, no big deal or anything else of that nature.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, you're just really traveling to go home. I said, yeah. And then they were like, well, why do you, I got family here in the Western New York area. I come over shopping quite a bit. I get gas quite a bit. Because even though the dollar isn't that great, you can still get some great deals. And if you make a good trip out of it, you can still do a lot of saving.
Sure. So they did.
I'd say about 7-8 times a month.
Yeah, but they detained you for an hour, you said?
They detained me at the Maine border, for an hour.
Jeez, what a pain. Yeah.
What do you mean,
Yeah,
the Maine New Brunswick border? New Brunswick's one of the states, isn't it?
No, New Brunswick is a province.
Come on. You're starting to talk like Glenard J. Ouellette right now.
We should annex it. I mean,
we all know it's one of the states. Why, Donald Sutherland comes from New Brunswick.
Well, we know the Trump.
Yes.
We know the Trump administration doesn't care about Puerto Rico, so maybe we could get rid of Puerto Rico and annex New Brunswick.
Why would we? We won the war in 1833. Didn't we? We won New Brunswick fair and square.
Well, that's true. I mean, we could use the logic Putin used to take back Crimea. We'll take back New Brunswick. How's that sound, Joe?
Take it back.
Well, I think there was a story not so long ago where I think that
when did we lose it?
Americans from Montana were trying to sell Montana to Canada.
Really?
As if they need more of the prairie, right? The high plains.
Oh boy!
What were they trying to go with Ralph Klein when he was the premier of Alberta?
What's wrong with Montana? Yeah. You guys don't want Montana? I actually don't mind giving them Montana.
Have you ever been to Montana?
No, that's why I don't care if they have it.
Don't fall into a mine shaft.
Oh, no. Well, geez, you're not exactly selling this Montana thing.
None of it.
Jenny in the Facebook live chat says, protecting Americans from comedians since 2016, referring to the Border Patrol there.
protecting Americans in New Brunswick, I guess.
That's right.
What I thought was really interesting and neat, though, between the American border of Maine and New Brunswick is that literally I could have, and it just boggled my mind, like just before crossing the border, it was like, say, 2 p.m., and then literally you cross over the border, it was 3 p.m., but you were like exactly in the right same spot area, just in two different countries, but because how the time zones work and
right, Atlantic time
and whatever else, it was like, wow, I can have 1 foot in one time zone and 1 foot in the other time zone.
Right.
You know, I'm just saying, when I was a kid, there is no border. There is, but there wasn't. Even here in Manchester, we used Canadian because it was at par. And there was no border. Some people, one of my father's business partners, he gets busted in New Brunswick. He says, "What do you mean this isn't the United States?" He had no idea. He was originally from Boston, but there was, you just went across,
Yeah.
In their places. I mean, there were major border crossings where you have to say, "Yeah, United States." Don't say America, and they could get snippy about that. But just regular places where people live, like Caribou, Maine, you just go right across. That's not true anymore. Not since 2001.
Jenny says it's the dreaded Canadian cooking comedians build a wall. Hey, is there ever talk in Canada about building a wall to keep us out?
That's a good idea.
No, absolutely not.
Oh.
I mean, we just decide, hey, we're not going to come down and be a part of it for the 4 years that you guys are in right now. We're not coming down at all. But no wall. But it's funny how the Canadian comedian, because and nothing against these border patrol guys on both nations, United States and Canada, because they do a lot of work and try to protect our borders and that stuff, and your borders as well. But I remember one time, it was early morning, about 7 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. I was going over to go get gas in Western New York, and I have my face on my van advertising myself and the Joe Crawford Live website.
Yeah.
And so the American patrol officer says to me, he goes, "What do you do for a living?" And I go, "I do singing comedy shows." And he goes to me, "Sing me a song." I go, "You got to be kidding me. I got to sing you a song?" He goes, "Sing me a song." I go, "Really?" He goes, "Sing me a song or I will not let you into the United States." I said, "Really?" So I said, okay, so very badly, because I was like 7 o'clock in the morning and whatever. I was like, "When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore." And the guy goes, just like that, and the guy goes, "Yeah, don't quit your day job. Have a good day."
Wow.
But you got to kind of submit to them because you are at their mercy, right? Like,
exactly.
I could have said, "No, I'm not singing you a song," and argue with him, and he could have turned me back.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Well, did you tell him not to quit his day job either? Because you assume he has no actual talent. I'd have been like,
no, I just said, "Thank you very much, sir," and I went on to get my gas.
I would have been tempted to say, "Yeah, don't quit your day job either, buddy." I'm pretty sure you found your calling.
And then I would have been one of those people who would have been in jail.
That's true.
It's taboo. My father, he had a pistol in his car, and he was shooting across Ontario to save some time.
Shooting across Ontario. I see what you did there.
But he was going, to get, because you can cut a lot of time off.
Right.
And the woman that was going, he had never really had problems because he dresses well. He's a Caucasian of a certain type. Mm-hmm. He's driving his Cadillac, but she started going through his luggage. And usually, if he had gone through, he had hidden it well. But this time, he had it in his suitcase.
Oops!
And
got a little careless, did he?
But as she's getting close, she says, Are you going to play with my undies or something? And she was shocked and throws the thing down.
Oh, that's smart. Wow, that's smart.
He would have been screwed. He's in Canada.
Yeah.
So he never did that again.
Wow. Wow.
But
well, listen.
Whether that
gentlemen, I got to sign off and go.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say we've kept you on for a while, but it's great to talk to you.
Mike Huckabee, has all the sympathy in the world for you guys over the melting igloo. But, there's little he can do because it's God's will. And that is the truth.
That's right.
About Mike Huckabee's opinion.
Yes. Joe, before you go, do you want to do a quick plug for your show and your website and stuff? Do you have time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to make a quick plug here, JoeCrawfordLive.com. You can check me out there and all the information of what I do entertaining. You can see that all there, the social media, and, of course, the Joe Show. That is on Sundays at 4 p.m. online at RevealingTalkRadio.com. We have a lot of great celebrity guests and fun on there. And, yeah, we're on till at least the middle or end of June. And check that out, The Joe Show, Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry, kind of short, but I'm going to go see the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh, very cool.
Do you
very
think
nice.
do you think the Generals are going to win this game this time? Do they still play the Generals?
I don't know if they're playing the Generals. I'm not too sure.
Oh.
All right, Joe. Well, thank you so much for the call, my friend. It is wonderful to hear from you. Maybe we could. I'd love to do this more often with you, man. But thank you so much, and have a good night.
Thanks. Likewise, guys. Take care.
All right, brother. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was cool. That was a big surprise, actually. I had no idea he was going to be calling, and like legit, I haven't actually had a conversation with Joe in a long time. Jenny did drop the link to his website in the Facebook live chat, by the way, joecrawfordlive.com. Let's see. Hello to Alderman Bill Berry, who says, hello, Matt and Hoppy. Peter White from The Morning Show with Peter White, which you can hear weekday mornings from 7 to 9 a.m. here on WMNH.
You'll have to wait
He's in
till
there.
September, Peter.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Not till September.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Muckler also in the Facebook live chat says, good afternoon, Matt. So, very nice. And 603-250-6007 is a number to call, 603-250-6007. You actually texted me that, I just glanced at it here, that Mike Huckabee story from...
when he was running for president.
From boingboing.net. Yes, 11 years ago. Mike Huckabee congratulates Canada on its national igloo.
Yeah, they have a parliament and an igloo, but it's turning into a national tragedy. And that's why Pierre Trudeau, he's lost so much popularity.
Oh,
he hasn't
is that
done
why?
enough.
Oh,
He hasn't
my
done
goodness.
enough.
Oh, hello to the Honorable Heidi Hamer, who joins us in the Facebook live chat. Hello, Heidi.
Who I was in kindergarten with, first grade, and then second grade. But third grade, we got parted.
Right.
Yeah.
She says, good afternoon, Matt and John. And also Candace Johnson joins us in the Facebook live chat. Hello, Candace. So I'll read this article. I love this kind of stuff. Mike Huckabee may have won the Iowa primary, but does he really think that Canada's parliament resides in a national igloo?
Yeah, it does.
Rick Mercer's comedic Canadian TV show Talking to Americans, asking
which was really funny.
asking people on the streets of U.S. cities nonsensical questions about Canada to see if they call shenanigans or whether they become genuinely alarmed at the idea that, say, the Canadian elderly are set adrift on ice floes instead of being sent to retirement homes, caught Huckabee on video during his days as governor of Arkansas and asked him to send a message of support to Canada and its struggling national igloo, a notional ice sculpture scale replica of the White House in which the Canadian Parliament meets and debates. Huckabee gave a stirring endorsement to the igloo, presumably after ascertaining that the igloo was not used by homosexuals. Well, that is important to Reverend Huckabee, I'm sure.
Well, that's when the Conservatives had the government. Now it's controlled by all sorts of people engaged in shenanigans. That's why it's melting, the climate change outside and hot times inside, Matt. Oh, boy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Oh, man.
Hello to Christian Cunard, who joins us in the Facebook live chat.
Justin's just like his mom, likes a good time.
Yes.
The crystal ball and the ceiling.
Sure. Oh, I don't even want to think
Going
about
commando.
it. Boy, you made me forget what I was going to say.
Can we talk about the Gang of Four?
Oh, by the way, Justin Trudeau, have you seen him fall downstairs?
I thought that was Chevy Chase.
No, Justin Trudeau. This is legit. You can find it on YouTube. Apparently, there's video of him doing this when he's younger. He had some stunt training. He knows how to fall downstairs without getting hurt. There's actual video of him showing someone.
Wow, what a multi-talented fellow he is.
Isn't that weird? Well, do you think Donald John Trump can? Actually, Donald John Trump can do anything. The Gang of Four, you say? Who's the Gang of Four?
So what?
Gang of Four? Isn't that a Western?
Oh, I thought that was John McCain.
John McCain?
Or are they the Gang of Three? The Three Amigos.
Three Amigos was, you did mention Chevy Chase.
I thought John McCain and Miss Lindsay, who Donald John Trump has just taken out to the woodshed and given him a hard spanking to over Syria. I thought they were part of like a Gang of Four. Or was that the Three Amigos?
I don't know.
I'm John McCain.
Well,
Kelly Ayotte used to be one of them. One of the amigos.
I don't know what you're referring to, though. One of the amigos for what? What do you mean? I mean, there's been different gangs of different things. Like there was like a gang of 8 when they were doing when you had actual Republicans trying to do immigration reform, something other than building a wall, until one day Marco Rubio woke up and said, "Oh my God, I have to run for president. I can't look like I actually want to do anything for immigrants. This is nuts. I got to get out of here." And then he never spoke of it again. Is that what you're referring to? The Gang of 8?
No, the Gang of 4.
I don't know who the Gang of 4 is. Who's the Gang of 4?
Well, then stop sending me these telepathic messages to ask you questions about the Gang of 4.
Are you talking about the James Gang, the rock band?
Rick James?
No, definitely not Rick James.
Who dated Linda Blair of The Exorcist? Well, not when she was on the,
I didn't know.
Older.
I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me because I did hear that she's a super freak. She's super freaky.
Is Rick James still alive?
No, Rick James is dead. Did Rick James strike you as someone who is going to live to be an old man?
How do I know? I was only in my 20s back then.
Mm-hmm.
Who thought that people got so old?
Do you know why Super Freak was recorded?
Because of Linda Blair?
No,
and
because the record company told Rick James, we need a song for a single that white people can dance to.
Is that what happened?
And thus Super Freak was born. White people can dance to I can even dance to Super Freak. Not well, but I can.
Is that so?
Now, do we have another caller lined up or no?
No. She must have be part of the Gang of 4.
Oh, right. That's crazy. My goodness. There is an article here in Reuters, by the way.
Reuters?
Canada's Trudeau isn't talking about it, but legal cannabis is going well. So that just to back up what our friend Joe Crawford was saying.
The federal election in Canada isn't till October. So he's got time to recover, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. If it was held today, the Tories would probably win and win big. Yeah. Yeah.
Any thoughts on Julian Assange being arrested? You're not a fan of his, are you?
Why would I be?
That's what I thought. What would you like to see happen to him?
I don't really have any opinion about that.
Oh, you have something in common with our president. He doesn't know anything about WikiLeaks, in fact. He's never even heard of it.
He has a New York sense of humor, Matt. It consists in making statements that are completely, either hyperbolic or just pure BS.
Sure.
And it's like laying a minefield.
Part of being a New Yorker?
Brings you in and sees how you're going to react to it. I mean, that's how you have to understand the stuff that comes out of his mouth. Either that or he's insane. Maybe there's a combination of both.
I was going to say, if you had to pick one, which would you go with?
That's not fair. Let's
I don't think he's insane. I think he knows exactly what he's doing.
Oh, well, then it would be this way with you.
Right.
I'd go with the insane.
Yeah. You think he's insane? You think he's insane in the membrane?
I think we're all insane. I think the whole country's insane.
Well, as a great man once said, we're never going to survive unless we get a little
I think
crazy.
The whole country's disintegrating, but that doesn't mean we can't have fun.
Right, that's true. If you're on the road to hell, you might as well enjoy the ride.
Christ, do you know how hard it was to build the country? Tearing it down's a lot more fun.
And easier.
It doesn't take as long either.
No.
But what he's, the thing with Cuba is unconscionable.
Now, I know a little bit about that, but I don't know a lot about it. So he's basically, and by he I mean Trump, or the administration has basically rolled back what Obama tried to do with Cuba, right?
That they could come here without defecting. But like
you're talking about the baseball players.
Baseball players in Cuba belong to the Cuban Baseball Association, just like a Japanese player is covered by their association. And in order to get Dice K, you had to pay $30 million before you to even negotiate with him.
Andrew Dice Clay is Cuban?
Dice K.
Oh, I was going to say.
Or Tanaka. You have to, the Yankees pitcher, you got to give him an ungodly amount of money to win the rights just to negotiate with him.
Yeah.
So this was similar, but it would made it easier for the Cubans to come and play in the United States And there were Cuban players historically. And, Louis Tiant was a Cuban player, but of course, he had already escaped Cuba. But it's just a sop to, the Cubans who hate Castro, and the idea that that we haven't opened up relations completely with Cuba is crazy. I mean, all you have to do is open up relations, and Castro would have been gone. Well, Fidel's gone now because he died, and his brother Raul is the nominal leader. But you open up all sorts of trade and interactions. The place would have been liberalized a lot quicker. It would have undermined the Castros and that type of system.
What do you think about
the more you have the interaction with them? It benefited both. Our blockade on Cuba benefited the Castros more than anybody, and the group of Cuban American politicians that. It's a real issue to them. It's a real emotional issue. Like the Irish used to, send money to the IRA, or Jewish Americans with Israel.
Wasn't it a quarantine because of blockades, an act of war, or was that only during the missile crisis?
We had a trade embargo.
Oh, yes.
We've had a trade embargo forever.
Well, yes.
At times it loosened up. In the early 70s, when Nixon went and Ford was president, Shirley MacLaine was partying with Fidel Castro. Lots of people were going down there. We thought it was all going to end, finally. But Jimmy Carter was actually, right wing in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And terrible president, but I'd vote for him again over Ronald Reagan.
Really?
Of course I would. Ronald Reagan was the worst, but we won't get to that.
Why do you say that?
He's a lousy president. Good commander. The people around them were good. They kept me out of war.
Right. It's funny.
Enough.
I just remember growing.
A little like that. So I heard.
It's funny that you say that because I remember growing up, my dad would always say whenever someone would win the presidency, and he still says it. When somebody wins the presidency, my dad doesn't necessarily care for. He says, "Well, hopefully he'll surround himself with good people."
And there were. James Baker was a brilliant guy. He had very good people around him.
Yeah, no, that's true. Now, how do you feel about
it was successful on its terms?
How do you feel about Julian Castro? There's no relation there, is there?
I've met Julian Castro,
former HUD secretary. He's running for president.
Yeah, he was at Puerto Vallarta.
Oh, was he?
A couple years ago. Very nice guy. Harvard. Him and his brother are twins.
Who's his brother? Is his brother
he was the congressman.
Oh.
He was a congressman.
Oh.
They're both politicians. They both went to Harvard. They're both twins. And one of them made a funny joke about affirmative action. He says, he got me into Harvard.
Right.
They are. It was interesting.
Julian Castro did, because we were talking about legalized cannabis. This is from Mediaite. He was doing this town hall, and he was asked by a guy named Aaron Stone. About his position on legalization, and they kind of made a joke about it. So while Don Lemon, who was moderating the thing, made a joke, he said not to go unnoticed, but his last name is Stone. And then Castro said, "It's all right, man. Look, your last name is Stone. I won't assume you're a stoner. My last name is Castro. Don't assume I'm a dictator." So that was kind of a light moment there. Julian Castro, apparently quite humorous.
I've met many, Mexican-American, a few congressmen that, as they're campaigning in 2016, different than anybody else.
Our friend Q, who calls the show occasionally, refers to AOC as something like Alexandria Ortega Castro. But I don't think her last name is Castro.
It's Cortez, isn't it?
I believe it's Cortez, but Q always says Castro, which I think he's trying to do something there. I think he's trying to do a little something, if you know what I mean.
Her popularity in her district is tanked because she opposed.
Has she? Has it?
Yeah, because she opposed the Amazon putting the facility in there, and that was jobs.
Yeah.
All this stuff. People want to work. They
Right.
don't want to all be on welfare for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
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 And they're all not.
Some people. Some people do, but most people
I would
don't.
say most people want to work.
Most people want to work, yeah, because that's the trick that a lot of conservatives use because they hate any kind of social programs. They try to paint everybody as being freeloaders.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that I know a guy syndrome. Well, I know a guy who figured out how to bilk the system, so they then assume everybody's bilking the system.
In the Reagan era, it was all sold as all these black people
the
on welfare.
Queen. The welfare
and occasionally,
queen, yeah.
or Puerto Ricans or Latinos, but not as much. And then you'd point out to somebody, well, over 2/3 of the people on welfare are white. And they'd say to you, no, they aren't.
That's fake news, yes.
So we didn't say that back then.
Well, no,
it is demonstrably true that 2/3 of all people on welfare are white.
Right, yeah, that's...
there's a lot of poverty amongst white people,
of course,
too.
yeah. It's, that's statistically demonstrable. But... but anything that can. But the thing is, facts versus racism. Racism usually wins. So if facts get in the way of demonizing people of color, who again, you go back to Ronald Reagan and the welfare queen thing, because that started with him. What was that in a speech that he gave while he was He wasn't president yet, right?
Well, you could make an argument that Ronald Reagan was president of the United States because of the white backlash against. The Johnson and Johnson's Great Society. What do you mean? Do I think so?
Why
the Supreme Court?
Why do you get weirdly defensive? Like I
assume you know you're as old as I am, and you remember everything I do.
Because I'm not
like
even
the time with the Japanese.
I'm genuinely asking you your opinion. I'm not trying to be snarky. I'm curious.
Little do I realize, with the thing about the Japanese. I sent you the thing.
Right.
There were hundreds. There was hundreds, maybe thousands of Japanese and Japanese Americans working for the Emperor of Japan.
Right.
But they couldn't reveal them because they would have revealed the Purple Code, and people knew that at one point. And Jimmy Carter's hand-picked commission on getting reparations for the Japanese was already stack, so it would do that.
Yeah.
So they ignored all that stuff. Like somebody like John McCloy, there was actually a peril there. That doesn't say the way it was handled was necessarily decent.
Right, because
Earl Warren,
did acknowledge
who's
that.
governor of California later, was very upset about what had happened, the way it was implemented. But at that exact time, when you just lost the Pacific Fleet, the entire British Empire in the Pacific was gone, and the Dutch, and MacArthur was in shock and didn't take any preparations and lost the Philippines.
Yeah.
It was, it was you just can't go back in time. But of course, there were Japanese that were spying and everything. And in the 60s, if you read a novel, what's it called? Mother Night by Vonnegut, he talks about that because it was known. But then history gets changed into, we're all, one big happy melting pot, and the Japanese kids went off to fight in Germany, which they did. But there were riots in some of those camps, and they resisted the draft. But history is much more fascinating, more interesting, and more intricate and more human when you actually the reality of it's known.
I agree with you.
But it's like John Roberts, his disingenuous
Chief Justice John Roberts
opinion, giving our illustrious president the ability to keep Muslims out, or people from countries.
People from
that
Muslim
happen to have
majority
Muslim
countries,
ignoring what he said. And then, these decisions were horrible, but I'm going to make one similar to it.
Right.
What? Based on... But that's life, That's what life's like.
Stephen Philbrook says, settle down, Hoppy. No need to get all uppity. Oh, I like when John gets worked up. It's good radio.
That's a racist... you're getting racist, calling me uppity.
Bill Barry...
remember, I'm part Welsh.
Bill Barry rejoins us, Alderman Bill Barry. He must have left and came back, so...
I just figure that everybody knows what I know about American history and stuff.
Right.
And
right. Well, yeah. I mean,
you went through that period where everybody was slugging it out, but you weren't.
But you understand. So when I ask you these questions, I'm just genuinely interested in your opinion. It's not meant to attack you in some way. Like just now.
You're baring your fangs and spitting.
I am genuinely interested why you think that Reagan was elected as a backlash to Johnson. And
there was a huge backlash amongst white people against civil rights.
Because I was just a little guy when Reagan was
They're
elected.
right
I
now.
remember it, but barely.
Joe Biden is now they're portraying him as a racist
I've noticed that.
over busing. But busing, whatever you think about busing, it was ineffective, and it didn't work.
Right.
It didn't work. Now, you can go back in history and demonize everybody,
Oh, yeah.
which everybody's going to do anyway.
Right. Especially now.
It's like one of the people you had on the show was talking about, and the person said that the Civil War wasn't about slavery. And, was the Civil War about slavery? Let me ask you that.
Not entirely. I mean,
What do you
that was a
consider
part
the
of it.
Civil War about?
Well, it was about the South wanting to separate from the North.
Right, so it would be to keep one country.
Right. Yeah.
But people, you rewrite history. Every generation is going to rewrite history. It's like every generation will take the classics,
Yeah.
Greek, Latin, and translate them. And of course, there are things that are untranslatable, so you translate them into your vernacular and your consciousness. So,
But also with history, isn't it also not just a matter of rewriting it, but simplifying it, kind of dumbing it down so that I guess so you can teach it to grade school kids, whatever the
everything.
sanitized version is, right?
Well, that's civics.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, like because you were talking earlier about how history is so much more interesting when you really delve into the details and whatnot. But in school we get this hyper simplified version of everything.
It actually illustrates what's going on now.
Right.
It was a war, I would say, against the slaveocracy, which is different than just saying slavery.
Right.
Because the war wasn't over abolition. There were very few abolitionists in America. Abolitionists were mostly in New England. And even then, Garrison, the greatest abolitionist of them all, his newspaper was burned down in the 1830s. In Illinois, where Abraham Lincoln was from, well, as an adult, a famous abolitionist was lynched and thrown in a river. And that's in the 1850s.
Yeah.
The thing is, the Constitution was created in such a way, all other people, are 3/5 of a person, for apportioning the seats in Congress.
Yeah.
That was called the Negro vote one. Negroes couldn't vote because they had no rights to vote. But that gave the South a check on the North. And because of the population explosion in the North, because of they actually had an industrial revolution in the North, rather than the South, which created raw materials, cotton, you had that in the 1860 election was gone. So they separated. But see, when you talk about, everybody's going to say it's like, battle cry of freedom, this and that. And, we went to war for slavery, which is not true. It was a war with the slaveocracy. You're basically, the United States almost had a crisis in 1832, the Tariff of Abominations. South Carolina, which seceded first in 1860, threatened to secede in 1832, and President Jackson said he would form the army and be the head of it and conquer South Carolina. Because you had an industrial North facing the brutal competition of England, and the South, which was agrarian. The South did not benefit from tariffs. Protectionism benefited the industries of the North. We had two different economic systems. The North wanted those cheap materials, but guess what? England did. If you know about Lord Palmerston, opposed to slavery, but he was opposed to slavery, and the British actually would seize ships that had slaves on them. But in that war, the War of the Rebellion, as it was once called, he almost came in on the South because he wanted those raw materials, and they didn't want the North, the United States, becoming a big competitor. So that's more interesting, and that's what's going on now. But our Constitution is built in so a minority can dominate, and that exists now, in our lifetime.
You mean in terms of the Electoral College, that
and
debate?
The Senate?
Because you don't want to change that, right? You opposed. Not that it's
I want the Electoral College abolished.
Oh, you do want it abolished? Okay, I misunderstood your position. You do want
it's
it.
ridiculous.
Oh, okay.
It almost 3/5 of the House voted for, was it 3/5 or 2? Or, yeah. No, I think it was closer to 75% voted in 1969 for an amendment for the popular election of the president.
Yeah.
But it got bottled up in the Senate, which is conservative, which was controlled by Southern Democrats who were, they had their addiction to segregation and that. But, one of the biggest things that happened in my lifetime, when I used to go to visit my father in Atlanta, the idea you were a Yankee was abominable. A Republican was abominable because that was the party of Lincoln. But Reagan, the shift, now they're Republicans. There's no party of Lincoln anymore.
Right.
Reagan started, the first place he went to after securing the 80 nomination was to Philadelphia, Mississippi, which was famous because 3 civil rights workers were murdered in 1964 and buried.
I remember you talking about this.
And
yeah.
he gave a speech about states' rights, which is code
for segregation.
Segregation, states' rights.
Yep.
And he had been elected partly in California. Well, Pat Brown, who's the father of Jerry Brown, had 3 terms. He beat Nixon decisively in 1962. Not many people win 4 terms as a governor.
Sure. Yeah.
Rockefeller did in New York, but California, I think it would have been unprecedented.
Reagan was a Democrat then.
No, Reagan was a Republican in 1966.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, in 66. Well, in 62, he actually was a Democrat. He didn't shift to like 63 or 64. He shifted with Barry Goldwater.
Oh, okay.
He was a well-known liberal Democrat, anti-communist, Cold War Democrat who loved FDR, like so many people did. But he made his shift in 64, and he ran in 66, and he won. He beat Pat Brown. Part of the reason he won was a white backlash against the Fair Housing Act in California, modeled after federal legislation.
Yeah.
But when it came to busing and all that, there was a big backlash against it. People didn't want their kids being sent into inner city schools, which were horrors because racism and segregation. There was never anything separate but equal.
So,
you know what I mean? It was separate and unequal.
So, well, let me ask you this. So when you say busing didn't work, you mean it
failed.
It failed in what way? Explain that. Like it just didn't, in terms of just not accomplishing anything, or did it actually make things worse?
It was imposed from the top down by the courts.
Yeah.
Listen, I hear you guys talk about white privilege. I've told you, my father was started working at 12, delivering milk with a milkman. At 16, he was working on the railroad, tearing up rails. Mm-hmm. And his job before he went over to high school, Manchester West High School, he went into a factory in the morning before he went to school and threaded a bobbin, which he said was the worst job he ever had. Mm-hmm. He was a bobbin boy. So when 1943, at 17, when he joins the Navy, quit high school to join the Navy, it was a step up. It was a step up for most people. My mother was born into Dickensian poverty.
Yeah.
So here's a generation that worked its ass off, worked hard, moved into the suburbs and stuff.
We got a call.
And then schools and everything. Suddenly you're facing, because of a court order, sending your kids into inner city schools. And they resisted it. And I would say the average American, why Archie Bunker, why All in the Family was so popular, because people were Archie Bunker, the greatest generation.
All right, let's grab this call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, all, just another Ridley call.
Oh, Dave Ridley, how are you, sir?
Is this the virtual Dave, or is this the real one?
They're both here now.
Is this the Mesh Network?
How are you, Dave Ridley?
Fully interactive.
You're what? Fully interactive? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's on your mind today?
How come you don't have a website?
Well, it's RidleyReport.com, but it's not. It goes straight to the YouTube channel.
I think you should have a website.
Ooh, that would be cool. Why don't you have
No, I did have a website, and it was just like another place for things to get lost. Or when you have to make a correction, you have to correct it in both places. No way. Not interested.
Oh, all right. All right, Dave Ridley. Well, what's on your mind today, sir?
Well, the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance is opposing this. Well, you remember that scandal in Bedford, where the schools were sort of trying to administer sexual surveys to kids?
Sexual surveys, that sounds kinky.
I vaguely remember that, yes.
What were they trying to suss out there, Dave?
Ooh.
Various.
I don't remember all the details. It was probably been
proclivities?
about 4 years ago at the Bedford Government School.
Yeah.
But I guess this either resulted in they may have made some changes to the law that make it harder to sort of secretly administer surveys like that to kids
Oh, it was a
without
secret
informing their parents in
survey.
advance and stuff like that. For whether it's recent or not, there's some law that that regulates those kinds of surveys.
Okay.
And I guess what's happening now is some of the state reps are trying to make it easier to give the surveys, like water down the law so that it becomes easier to give those surveys secretly again. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that does make sense. Well, I don't think those surveys should be given without the parents' consent.
What if isn't the intent to find out if they're gay or something in order to help the kids?
Oh, so they can get some gay conversion therapy while they're
Well,
young.
to avoid probably gay conversion therapy.
Right.
Yeah. How
Which
good is
I'm
the
not gonna-
government's track record at helping people because they're gay or helping people because they're anything?
Well, I would say that in 1979, my father's gated community in Birmingham, Alabama, you could kill a black person with impunity. And nowadays, I think things are better.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good change.
Yeah.
It's like in
things
when
haven't been getting worse all the time in all
Right.
respects. That's true.
Right. Yeah. And and we do have marriage equality now. The government now allows gay people to get married, which I've always supported. So there is some progress.
Always.
But I've always supported
now,
that.
That's
Absolutely.
Now they
wedge
allow
issue.
gay people to join married heterosexuals
Away.
in misery.
That's how I see it. But this is just a wedge issue for you. Al Baldessaro told me to try to justify Yetis marrying Homo sapiens.
Okay, that's very, very.
You're not going to blank me out, are you?
That's very hurtful of you. I can't even.
The truth does hurt, doesn't it?
The ghost of John McCain has something to say about that. I think.
Those kind of remarks are very hurtful.
Yes. Can you?
It's from Al Baldessaro.
Can you believe what I have to put up with, Dave Ridley?
Separation of marriage and state.
That's right. I agree. I'd love to get
I
the
don't
government
believe
out
in
of
marriage.
Yeah, John doesn't believe in marriage. Have you ever been married, Dave?
No.
We got 3 bachelors here.
Isn't
Yeah.
bachelor code word for gay?
I don't think so.
Isn't it? Over a certain age?
I don't think so. If it is, I'm going to need some conversion therapy, I guess.
Convert you to what?
I don't know.
Get you off that scratching post?
See, that's very mean.
Ooh.
That's very mean. So where does that all stand now with that? Where show that again. Where there you go. For our Facebook Live viewers. So where does that? Oh my goodness! What
a marriage made in
that's
heaven.
a horrifying picture. So where does that all stand now, Dave Ridley?
Are you getting married?
No. I meant the survey
Secret
thing.
sex survey.
The secret sex survey.
The notice that I saw from the Liberty Alliance was about, I guess that must have come out about 2 weeks ago, and I think it was announcing a hearing that must have happened around the 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
So that would mean that it's going to be, I can't imagine any vote would happen on this until late April, at the level.
Yeah.
And then it would happen, and then there would be another vote state, by all the state reps after that. So there is still, for those who wish to weigh in one way or another, there is still time to do that.
Right. Oh.
An enemy of
that
of Donald
site,
Trump?
The Alliance they have it at nhliberty.org. It's pretty easy to find like the like a one-click where you can email all the reps in one go.
Yeah.
Not all the reps, just all the reps on that committee.
Oh, okay.
Well, shouldn't the kids feel free? Shouldn't they have liberty from their parents?
Ooh, I like that. I wish I'd had liberty from my parents when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I would have eaten a lot more sweets.
I really don't believe this stuff about, keeping kids till like they're 27 or something. I mean, it's nauseating.
What do you think, Dave? Are you nauseated
Yeah, I
by
mean
that?
that's part of what's been going wrong with society is an attempt to keep the kids too long. Although I guess being a 52-year-old kid, I'm not sure I can feel pot kettle black, but
Oh.
but I do think you shouldn't be trying to stop kids from doing work, when they want to
Right.
start working younger than 15
Or
whatnot.
loving.
Or 11, yeah.
Just kids need to be able
As long as they got birth
to,
control.
to grow up.
You're 52, Dave? I wouldn't have guessed that. I thought you were younger than that.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. No, but I'm definitely not. Last I checked, I'm 52.
Yeah, well, that's what you might have some government paperwork that says you're 52, but that doesn't mean
Yeah,
it's
right.
accurate.
I didn't witness my birth.
That's right, exactly.
Well, Neither did
I
Barack
technically
Obama.
I did, but
I don't know if you heard what John said. He said neither did Barack Obama, which is very.
I don't believe he was born in,
Yeah?
is it Hollywood or Honolulu?
I think he claimed Honolulu, but
He claimed?
all my
Or the conspiracy?
all my Republican friends tell me he was born in Kenya and he's a terrorist, and
Well, he did give us Sharia law. We have to give him that.
that's true. 8 years of Sharia law. I know all the women I know were pretty fed up with having to wear a burqa.
Yeah, now they're going to impose it up in Concord.
That's right. That's right. And anything else on your mind today, Dave, as we head into the weekend?
that is all.
All right, Dave Ridley. Well, please give the Ridley Report a big plug.
Oh, RidleyReport.com. I ambush interview politicians.
Yes. All right. Well, Dave.
Holy
Okay. All
smoke.
right. Enough of that.
Oh, sorry. Virtual Dave Ridley chiming in at the end there. All right, Dave Ridley. Well, happy Friday, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
All right. Thanks.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, the great Dave Ridley of the Ridley Report. There is still time to get in, 603-250-6007. Hello to Ed Murphy in the Facebook live chat and Bill Muckler. I know I read your names earlier, but I had to reboot this computer, so... Oh, and hello to Fred Bonig from the Daily Ripple, and we have another call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Oh, guys.
Oh, it's Easy G, Eric Gagnon. Eric, I want to apologize, by the way, because yesterday you called and virtual Dave Ridley was just talking over you, and he was very rude.
Yeah.
Now we have the real one.
Oh, all right.
Yes, but
I won't take offense to it.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is
Hey,
again.
I want to get something out there before the show ends. I know soon you got
Not
to
really.
be off the air for the weekend, but
Yes, please.
unfortunately I won't be able to go. But the people in the audience obviously can go and support my great friend Amanda McCarthy is going to be in the house at Panucci's Music Hall tomorrow
I'm
night at
very
9 o'clock.
excited.
Who is?
She's going to be closing the place. Amanda McCarthy.
The great Amanda McCarthy.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, virtual Dave Ridley's not familiar with her, but no,
I'm
I've
assuming
interviewed.
it's a free show. There's no cover, but it is a
Yeah,
plus
I'm not sure
21
everyone's
show.
going to get that or like
They
it.
do serve alcohol there, so.
Right.
Oh, I see. Yes, I get it. All right.
Are
fine,
you
yes.
allergic
I'm
to
kind of disappointed
alcohol?
that because I won't be able to check it out because obviously I'm supposed to be resting my feet.
That's
so.
right.
That was me knocking on your show a couple
There's
weeks
one
ago.
show
by
I
the
will
way.
not be able to
I,
check it out, but.
Were your feet hurting
Okay,
from
bye.
Creamland?
Yeah.
What?
Are you going to be watching, the greatest customer Creamland ever had was Ted Gatzis. He's got a horse in the Kentucky Derby. Did you know that,
Oh.
Easy G?
Yeah, I heard about that.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I hope to own it next year.
Wow.
Are you still on about that?
What did you say? I'd have to pwn it next year? What?
No, I hope to own it next
Oh,
year
oh.
after I sue his pants
Like
out.
All right, you guys have a great weekend. I know
your
show's running out of time, so.
You could have your show yanked
We'll
off
talk to you
the
guys
air,
later.
or there
Bye-bye.
could be protests at your offices or something like that.
Oh, once again, I have to apologize to EZG Eric Gagnon. Can you believe virtual Dave Ridley just talking over him like that? That's terrible.
How'd he hurt his feet?
Okay, I'm done. I gotta go.
Dave Ridley, virtual Dave Ridley, please. Next thing you know, the ghost of John McCain is going to start just rambling on nonsensically about whatever.
We should be able to deliver bottled hot water to dehydrated babies.
It's out of control. It's pandemonium in here. My goodness.
Well, he should know he was able to deliver jellied gasoline to burn the flesh off of Vietnamese babies.
Well, I suppose. But
I have never been an astronaut, but I think I know the challenges of space.
And he's going to be the head of the Space Force.
Well, yeah, we're all really impressed, Ghost of John McCain.
Just put it on the books, put some money aside from it, pay people off, and let's just forget the nonsense of like the F-35 or these new aircraft carriers. They're junk.
By the way, hello to Rhonda Ostrowitz-Favero in the
Help
Facebook
me,
live
Rhonda.
chat. Oh, very well done. She says 5 and 6 year olds sucking on pacifiers here in California. Oh my goodness.
Why are they doing that?
I don't know.
It's going to ruin their teeth.
No. She also says, I remember Archie Bunker for President shirts back in the 70s.
Well, getting back to it, it's not that, the situation in the inner city schools was horrific, which I thought would have been better, and I'm still of the opinion, reparations, giving black folk capital under their control to use in the schools they have. But
you're exactly right.
I'm just saying, to understand the people and the idea, sending your kid into an inner city school, which was horrific, and there were higher levels of violence tracking with poverty, not race.
Right, exactly.
There was going to be a reaction against it, and it was a top-down thing from the courts.
Yeah.
And there was a reaction. People react against it. And I remember I love Mike Dukakis. I went through him the entire thing, even down to his miserable defeat in 1988.
You're about his height.
No, he's taller than me, but not
is
by
he really?
much.
Oh.
And he is short. But, it's what Mike Barnacle said, friend of Lou D'Alessandro. He's in Brookline, and they're imposing this stuff on Boston. It's tearing the city apart, because of the idea, you were in your neighborhood. People didn't move as much then. When you went up in social class, because of the schools and everything, you get better schools. Suddenly you're being torn away from that. Mike Dukakis is in Brookline, upper middle class suburb, let's put it that way. Why didn't they include them in the busing plan? And they didn't.
By the way, Ed Murphy says, exactly, John, it's poverty, not race. Absolutely.
No, it is.
I agree.
And the violence.
I agree.
And the violence.
Yeah.
And when you talk about scores and everything, I've gone through PTSD. And they have actually talked at the school committee here, talking about what the kids go through. I'm sure that people that live in an inner city they have a form of PTSD.
Right.
And of course, that would create problems. But it was just a situation that was horrific. It didn't work. People pulled their kids out. The schools collapsed utterly. And it was a big reason, one of the reasons why the Republicans, the Reagan Democrat, because racism is just something like you just said. It seems that racism is in every race, everybody. And it's just like some shorthand thinking, you just go to that. Well, they're different and that.
Yeah.
But they're talking about reparations in this current campaign. I worked on a project of reparations, 12 years ago, and I was in New York in the publishing industry. I figured it was $3 trillion then.
Yeah.
That would be owed. But to give black folk their own capital, but that's an ideal world. And
yeah. Well,
because there's always the people in cahoots, the straw bosses with the man that are going to steal as much of that money as they can. What was the guy, Ron Brown, who was Commerce Secretary?
He died in a plane crash. Yeah.
In Clinton's campaign.
Yep.
He took advantage of a law that was to counter redlining in African American communities.
Yeah.
Redlining is you don't give mortgages over the red line.
Yeah.
They're risks.
Let's grab this call, and then we got to go. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, this is Easy G again. John, unfortunately, I have cellulitis again.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Both my legs
That was
and
me
both my feet.
a couple
So I
weeks
got to
ago,
stay
by the
off my feet
way. I
to try to get myself better with the antibiotics.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
good luck because you seem to be
okay,
doing
whatever.
well at Creamland.
No fun. Believe me, it's nothing.
Okay.
Nothing
All right,
I
enough
wouldn't
of
wish on my worst enemy.
that.
Well, good luck to you.
painful.
If you can make it, Easy G, at Billy's Sports Bar Sunday the 14th from 4 to 8, we're having a remembrance.
I'll take a pass because I got to rest up.
Are you allergic to beer?
I'll be
Not
there
really.
in spirit.
Joel Elber's going to be there.
Not really.
Yeah, you know Joel.
Right.
Well, everybody should come to
alrighty.
Billy's. You can have some iced
Are you
tea.
still on about that?
Yes, I am, Dave.
Oh, okay.
That mesh network is a pain in the keister.
I know. All right, we do have to go. Thank you, Easy G, for the call. Thank you, Dave Ridley, for calling. Thank you to Joe Crawford, the great Joe Crawford from the Joe Show. Be sure to check out Joe Crawford.
Is he related to Sam
live.com.
Crawford, the great baseball player, Hall of Famer?
I think so. I think they are all related. Thank you, John Hopwood, for popping in. Thank you to everybody in the Facebook live chat. We got to go.
And I'm looking so forward to Monday when we have the big switch over to your new format. And as part of the second year celebration, hopefully I'll have the new hat. What?
Should I tell him? Nah.
What you say?
Oh, never mind. We'll see you Monday. Oh, hello to Tony Petrillo in the Facebook live chat. Says Eric is allergic to life. LOL.
I want a pacifier.
Oh, my goodness. All right, we got to go. If you missed any part of the show, it'll be up in just a little bit. WMNHradio.org.
Drop this again.
Rob Azevedo is in the house, and he will be up next with Granite State of Mind live at 6 p.m. That's why we wrap up a little bit early on Fridays, because he's usually got some live performers coming in. They need time to set up, and not so bad getting out a little early on a Friday, get the weekend started. So I'll be back on Monday. Do you have something to say?
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting Monday.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. The big dirigible is going to hopefully come by.
Oh, I love a big dirigible.
Don't you?
Don't we all?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'll talk at y'all a little bit later. Bye, everybody.
Jesus Christ, didn't that blue out the blonde hair?
IPMNation.com.